Shri Guru Shri Juta
Hare Krishna, welcome to our channel, Bhagavad-gita. Here it is, because here we have it, Bhagavad-gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and my name is Labanga Latika. So we're in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, which is a very important chapter, and right now we have been reading the chapters Loki, the 4 core verses of the Bhagavad-gita, and this is number 11, it's the 4th of them. So if you just landed on this verse, then I would kind of recommend that you go and find the previous verses, because they are very nice verses. I am reading the Sanskrit, and this is also for those of you who study Bhagavad-gita by learning certain key verses by heart. This is one of them. Teshang evanukam partham aham agyanajang tamaha nashayam yatma bhavastho Jnanadipena Bhasvata. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So this is Krishna. He is dwelling in our hearts. And if he likes, he can... So much Krishna can do, actually. In general, in this material world, he leaves us alone. He keeps a respectful distance. Of course, that distance isn't very far, because it's actually situated within our hearts. He doesn't meddle in our lives. He doesn't particularly go around and make trouble for some people and help other people randomly. He allows this world activities and the karma and the desires to unfold as they're supposed to. He does assist by giving us knowledge, forgetfulness, and remembrance. He does assist in kind of connecting these things, but he doesn't interfere. And then them to show them special mercy. So them, that's from last verse, those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love. And there he said, I give them the understanding by which they can come to me. So he continues here. To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So if you have darkness, you can't remove it piece by piece. But as soon as you shine a light there, the darkness cannot stay. Because darkness is not really anything in and of itself. It's just the absence of light. So the same way, ignorance is just the absence of knowledge. And when Krishna is there, and he gives us that light and that knowledge, this is not very difficult to him. And then sometimes we ask, so why wouldn't God do that all the time? Why would he allow us to stay here in this? No, he's allowing us that because that's what we really, really want. We are avoiding, at any cost, we're avoiding that atmosphere that is fully saturated with pure love of God, where the whole natural state is that everyone is there, fully satisfied, fully absorbed in their loving relationship to Krishna. And the atmosphere is loving all around, and very beautiful, and very bright and transcendental and eternal, all of that. But then there is us. We are here in the material world. We're trying our hardest to forget Krishna, and Krishna allows for that. But as soon as someone turns to him, he's very happy to welcome that person back. And as we have been speaking about before, the process of devotional service mainly is about reawakening the soul's natural consciousness, natural love, natural attraction to Krishna. And when that happens, the ignorance naturally goes away. What we do carry with us are not the karma, because the karma just happens in this material world, but we do carry the seeds of karma, the desires. So that sometimes the process becomes it looks a little curvy. It doesn't look exactly immediately direct, because Krishna allows for us to naturally work through our anartas, the things in the heart that are not really useful and necessary, but we kind of have to throw them out ourselves once we become aware of them. But the actual real knowledge, which means knowledge of ourselves, who are we, knowledge of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, knowledge of our relationship to Him, that knowledge is inherent, it is natural. It's actually not something that we have to study up in order to understand it, because this is our nature. Right now, though, it is covered by the ignorance of the darkness of ignorance, and that Krishna says it's not very difficult for him to do something about that. I will read a purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. So Lord Chaitanya, that is Krishna, who appeared in this world 500 years ago. We will hear more about him, of course, in the Bhagavad-gita. We have one of our literatures is the Chaitanya Charitamrita that describes his life and the philosophical basis for his existence and activities as well, which is available wherever you get your Krishna conscious literature. That's very nice literature. So here, Prakashananda Saraswati, very influential and learned scholar in Benares at the time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not a fact. There are very, very learned scholars who have put forward a philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within the heart. So the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. So again, it's kind of necessary to understand the levels of existence, which of course we have been helped by Krishna in the 9 previous chapters. We understand we're in this material world with that little spirit soul within this material body, and we're accustomed through this life and many lifetimes previously to experience reality by the channels of our senses going out of the body and receiving information of the sense object coming back into the body by seeing and hearing and so on. Now we already did learn in the 2nd chapter, we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. And this material existence, where the spirit, the Brahman, that we see around us is always covered by matter, it's a very strange situation. So whatever knowledge we can gain here through our senses will always be, incomplete. So therefore, we want to study the Vedas because that's the knowledge that Krishna left for us in this universe, and he comes back over and over and reawakens it and shows off his activities so that we can learn about them and become attracted to them. So then you think you get knowledge by your senses, but actually that's incomplete. The senses can never grasp the full truth. Then, like we hear about this Prakashananda Saraswati, you get knowledge by studying the Vedas, and that is true. That knowledge is coming from the Supreme, and it is certainly there. But the reason the knowledge is there is because Krishna put it in this universe. So therefore, for him, it is not difficult. There is no difficulty in putting that knowledge also in our heart, and especially reawakening, removing the ignorance so that we can find that knowledge that we already have. So somebody who's sincerely practicing the process of Krishna consciousness doesn't need to be very erudite scholar in order to have knowledge. I can't remember who it was, but in the beginning of the Krishna consciousness movement in America, the one person, he was a scholar. He was actually studying the Srimad Bhagavatam, this line of devotional literature and knowledge that we are studying, and then he happened to find one of the earliest temples, and he came in there, and on the table was the Srimad Bhagavatam in English, and he couldn't believe his fortune, because this literature is very difficult to come about, because it hasn't been so much translated, so much distributed. And it was just sitting there, and then he asked the devotee if he could buy it, and then, yeah, sure. And then he was interviewing. I could mix this up. It could be two different persons. So anyway, I haven't given the name. Somebody certainly did it. He interviewed the devotees, so asked them, what they were doing and why they did it and what they liked. And they would say, yeah, because we like the philosophy. And then he was a scholarly person. He was expecting them to speak in a philosophical sense, but they spoke in a very simple sense. We are not this body. We are spirit soul. We're servants of Krishna. And then he felt, well, that's a very simple philosophy. But actually, it's the philosophy that goes right to the heart of reality. That's what we are. Then we can learn more and more, and we can learn the nuances and how this shows up, and in connection with this material universe. Certainly there is philosophy, but just learning these first basic points, if it then convinces you to become very sincere in dedicating your life to realizing the fact that you are that spirit soul, eternal part and parcel of Krishna, you are not this body, you are the servant of God, then that is how to say, that is the right use of the philosophy. So when the devotees there were engaging in the kirtan, singing God's name in the following Lord Chaitanya, then you can't really criticize anyone for that, because that will give you the complete full self-realization. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. That's also the answer to, sometimes we find, especially in this modern age, people are reluctant to accept that there is a God, but they may not go all the way to rejecting there is a God. They will just say, it is impossible to know. We can never find God. And in one sense, it's true. It's like when my children were small and they couldn't find something, I'd send them back and say, look under and behind, because it's probably there somewhere if you misplaced it. But if you look under and behind everything in this material world, we won't necessarily find God, because He's there under and behind everything, and also over and in front of everything. But unless He shows Himself, we won't find Him. The thing is, though, even if we are not able to, by our own ascending process, to catch God, He will have no difficulties at all revealing Himself. And therefore He's telling us in Bhagavad-gita what would please Him. If we do this devotional service the way that pleases Krishna, for Him there are no difficulties in showing Himself to us. So it may look like our process gets us to Krishna, but our process gets us to the point where Krishna is pleased with us, and then He may reveal Himself. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the supreme truth, the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, simply by speculating, for the supreme truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he's not devoted, if he's not a lover of the supreme truth, he will never understand Krishna or the supreme truth. Only by devotional service is the supreme truth, Krishna, pleased, and by His inconceivable energy He can reveal Himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Yeah, I have nothing to add. I will continue. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, the dust quickly clears, and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad-gita. By studying Bhagavad-gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So we need to shift our perspective, because we are so, or often we are, many of us are, engrossed in this material worldview, and this concept that this is the material world and this is how it works. Like we sometimes see that in countries you have some difficulties, that some people are not, they don't have the capacity to find a position within the society, and then maybe they need to be given a little support, given a little help, and then others come up and say, oh, they're just lazy, they should just work hard, just like us. And that's such a superficial level of understanding existence. And here also, in a philosophical sense, then they were criticizing Lord Chaitanya because he was just chanting Krishna's name and dancing in the association with the devotees. And they said, this is sentimental. You should work hard like us, study the scriptures like us, apply the knowledge like us. Not understanding what is the goal of all this knowledge. The goal is to love God. And because you are in a situation where you're working very hard, it's a kind of envy. We use the word envy a lot because envy is kind of the foundation of the material existence. Our envy goes towards Krishna, and the envy goes towards the other living entities also. And it is a very destructive quality, really. Because if somebody else is happy, then why should that bother us? That is actually what envy is all about. It's not about what you need. If you have what you need, then why should you be envious? So therefore, like people will say that we go out and sell these books, and then people say, get a job. Lord Chaitanya would go out and chant with the devotees, and the Mayavadis would say, get studying. But the actual real goal is to realize, who am I in relationship to Krishna? And then this whole material world is just like, it's just a setup for us to be contained here while we're trying to run through the different scenarios in our in our imagination that we would like to enjoy separate from Krishna. At any point we turn back to Krishna, we can just step right out of this world. It is insignificant in that sense. It's very significant because it shows Krishna's, qualities and energies and so on. But we don't need to stay here. So, if Krishna is reaching out his hand and saying, by this bhakti yoga, you can come to me, and I will give you the knowledge, and I will give you the enlightenment, and I will help you, then you don't need to say, but I heard, Krishna, that I have to do all the jnana and all the studying and all the worrying and all the working. We actually don't have to. Also, we don't want to be irresponsible and just become sentimentalists either. But here, what Lord Chaitanya did was not sentimental. He was acting in that tradition, and he was encouraging others to act in that tradition in order to please Krishna. And when Krishna is pleased, he can remove all the illusions in the heart. And he will remove all the illusions in the heart, so that we can actually completely come to him. So that is what he's offering in the Bhagavad-gita, and in his coming here in the form of Lord Chaitanya. He started the process of this focusing on the meditation on the holy name, both the individual japa, chanting the mantras, and the congregational sankirtan, going out together and singing Krishna's holy name. So we're doing that, and we're trusting Krishna. We'll have to endeavor to be sincere, to be careful about our focus, but we don't have to move mountains. Krishna is giving us a very simple process, and it is a process that actually works because Krishna helps us from within the heart. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for watching. We aim for updates every Tuesday and Friday. Please come back. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down there. We also have some links and information for you. And there is, of course, the subscribe button. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
I'm a Hare Krishna, and I approve this message. Subscribe.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.